Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next session of From Nothing, Lorna's story. We're going to go ahead and pick up right where we left off. We're back at the hermit house. Lorna, what do you want to do?
She is going to resummon Requiem because I keep forgetting to do that, and he would have been really useful in that fight.
Okay, you summon Requiem.
My buddy. She'll apologize when she sees him. Sorry that you had to go down in that fight.
Are you using a spell slot, or are you doing this ritually?
Oh, she'll do it ritually. It's not like they have anywhere to be right now.
Okay, moment. Let me
That I'm aware
find.
of.
Let me find the old dog.
I don't even think I have. Well, I haven't taken a rest yet since that fight. I have 1 first level left, 3 second, and 1 third. So she's pretty tapped. Yeah, this is definitely going to be a ritual.
Okay. So Requiem appears as if the
Hi,
shadows
buddy.
coalescing. I am back.
Yes, and a lot has happened in your absence, and I'm sorry that I forgot to summon you sooner.
It's okay.
I have a staff now. Look at it.
Oh,
I can lock things with it.
that is amazing.
Right? He gets it. She'll give him a little head ruffle.
I missed you.
Oh, I missed you too. Would you mind being a belt? I don't know how these druids are going to feel about your larger form.
As you wish.
Hee.
And he becomes a belt.
She will put him around her waist, and then she will try to... Is Skulna in the room still?
Roll perception.
Oh boy. Ooh, pretty good. 22.
Hold on.
She would have to really not be trying.
Let me check. I'm basically rolling indecision for Skulna, not
If
true
she's
stealth.
hiding or not. Because if she wanted to hide, I would not see her.
Skulna is leaning against the far wall in the room. She has a head turned and she's looking out the window. Out the main, like the lot, not the, like the foyer. She's just looking outside.
Can she catch her eye? She might have to like knock on the wall to get her to look over, but she doesn't want to like say anything. She wants to catch her eye visually.
Looking at, like, you're just staring at Skulna, and after a moment, it's clear that she feels eyes on her, and she just turns and then sees that you're looking at her.
She would like direct her eyes upstairs, and then go up.
Okay, Skulna nods and follows you upstairs.
Lorna would just try to find a room.
There's plenty of them. You hear someone is splish-splashing in a bath. And
Probably not that one then.
No, probably not that one. You also do see one of the doors is open and Nore is in a room. She is laying completely spread eagle on a bed, face down.
Reasonable.
Okay.
Sometimes you just need moments like that. So she'll obviously not bother Nora either. She'll find an unoccupied room and go in and wait for Skulna.
Once you go to the third room, it doesn't take long. Skulna enters shortly after. And then proceeds to lean on the wall right inside the door.
Nora just kind of flops on the bed, kind of face down, similar to Nora, and then just turns her head to the side so she's looking at her, and she'll just say, "You wanted to talk?"
Skulna seems to hesitate for a moment.
I mean, if now's not a good time, that works too.
She shrugs, and then, like, gently kicks the door closed. We're going to Shona, and then back to Augur City.
That seems to be the case. Bar anything I can't foresee.
Skulna like holds out a finger, and then lifts up like a second finger, and like touches it to the first finger, and then pulls it far away. And she seems to like make a gesture, and then she just says, "Malachor."
Would you like to use the Arcanum to go to Malachor? Is that what you mean?
Skulna nods and lowers her hands.
Uh-huh. Right, because obviously you have some unfinished business.
She nods again.
Are you hoping to do that before our little trip north?
She nods.
Okay. I understand, and I said I would help you, and I absolutely will. Right now, it's just a matter of logistics.
She folds her arms.
You're hoping when we go to Malachor to find this person. Take care of them, right?
She nods.
And you were hoping that I would be able to use some sort of influential magic on him, right? A little
She
well-earned
shrugged.
karma.
She shrugs.
So that's optional in your settling this?
She pulls a dagger from within her like black vest and is just twirling it between her fingertips as she nods.
Right, as long as he dies, preferably by your hand. It's, the method is really... I see. So, you said when we talked about this the first time that you kind of had a plan. Can you lay
She
that out
nods.
for me?
She looks at the dagger in her hands and then slots it between the door and the door jamb. Which it does not take a genius to figure out that door is not opening now.
Yep.
Anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. And Lorna holds up her staff. She's like, I could lock it too.
Skulna just shakes her head as she goes and sits down on the bed next to you.
I just want you to know that if I locked it with this, it would be really hard to unlock. Maybe even a little difficult for you.
She raises an eyebrow.
Maybe we'll test that later, but this is more important.
She takes a deep breath and looks down at her knees and the floor below her. I thought controlling magic would be easier. But she then shrugs.
It's not my forte, I'll admit. I specialize in really changing things from one thing to another. Enchantment is different, but not impossible. If that's, if your heart is set on that,
She shakes her
I
head.
can figure it out. You're not set on it.
I don't really care.
As long as it gets done.
A year ago, it would be a different story.
Why is that?
She looks up, looking around the room, and then she looks at you. I'm less angry.
Really?
She nods.
Okay.
He runs the candle makers. A guild off the street Heathrow.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if the situation is the same, but at the time, he would be out of his manor at 5:30 a.m. until 5:40 a.m. And then in the evening, again, at 7:40 p.m. to 8 p.m.
Only 20 minutes?
She nods.
Where would he be?
Walks.
He just takes a stroll through Malachor?
Looked for food.
Does Lorna know about the specific vampire code of conduct in Malachor?
Not likely.
Can I try?
You can roll a history, but it's a high DC because you haven't really ever looked into it before.
True. Yeah. Okay. History. No, I doubt it. 14.
No.
Okay, so does Lorna know Carcerix is his surname?
No.
I feel like I looked him. Hold on, I'm gonna go back to my notes when we went to the Arcanium. Return to the Arcanium. Okay. She looked him up. Carcerix, powerful noble. I do know it. Powerful noble Carcerix Minigdala is what you told me.
Okay.
Is that wrong?
No.
Okay. Runs a barony in Malachor, extended family of kindred he has sired, well known in Malachor for bending the rules. Questionable whether he truly has or had the consent of those he drank from. Charms to control people, has been known to sway entire audiences to his thinking with a single sentence, and likely a charisma vampire. So, Lorna would, like, remembering the research that she had done, she would say, would he be alone on these walks, or would he have some sort of muscle or family or friends? Do they do this in groups?
Always alone in the morning. Never alone in the evening.
So the morning, preferably. Aren't vampires? I'm not an expert, but aren't they a little weak in sunlight?
Skulna shrugs. Never seemed to be.
Well, that's true. I feel like I've read that they're vulnerable to it, but I've also read that they just walk around in it, so maybe I should do some more. We're going back to their Arcanium. I could do a little bit more research. The point is, if he's alone, he'll be easier. But he'll be in the open, potentially, because he's walking.
Skulna nods.
Which means cornering him in an alley, or maybe tricking him into an enclosed space where we wouldn't be caught. Have you thought this far forward, beyond these moments of him being alone to capitalize on?
She nods. There's a number of buildings along his routes that we might be able to use. Or at least there were. I don't know if they're still the case. It's been a while.
What do you think we could do to him to get him into one of those places?
She, like, raises an eyebrow looking at you. Magic.
Well, yes. An option is convincing him magically to just do what we tell him to do, but if he is a vampire and he's a particularly strong one, that's not a guarantee. And if I fail to get him into a secondary location, our plan is up. He has time to flee, or, call for help. Is there, do you think, is he amenable to conversation? I once convinced a man that I had to assassinate, that I was interested in sleeping with him, and then I got him into a hotel or a tavern, and then I killed him.
He might be.
Does he have... You told me, she remembers from their first conversation about him, that he had a predisposition to tiefling blood.
She nods.
Do you think we could capitalize on that?
She shrugs.
He knows what you look like, right?
She nods.
So, I could make myself look like a tiefling. We have another tiefling in the party, but she's not very good at social situations,
Skulna shakes
I
her
must
head,
admit.
looking at the ground.
So, Nora is also very persuasive if she needs to be.
Skulna raises an
Okay.
either eyebrow.
She's more of a force of personality to convince you, maybe against your will, to do things under threat of like violence or retribution. So, okay, so me. And it makes more sense that I put myself on the line like this because I swore to help you, but the others, you know, we need to talk to them about it.
Skulna doesn't really say anything. She seems thoughtful. What do you think Tyr would do?
What would Tier do? Are you asking from like his perspective as like a hunter
She nods.
or a particularly wise person? Well, I I consider myself relatively intelligent, but I could think of what he would do, or we could ask him.
She shakes her head.
Is there a reason you don't want to talk to him about it? I mean, I understand why, but is it because you don't trust him?
She kind of tilts her head. She's still not making eye contact with you.
Can I insight check her? I've never really been successful at that before, but
You can try.
please roll good. 19. I hope she rolled bad.
She seems embarrassed.
To be asking for help.
Not until the mention of Tyr.
I think Lorna would just kind of like nudge her knee against Skulna's and say, "We're going to do this. It would be more successful if we had help, and they'll probably agree to help us. But they all have unique perspectives and ideas that could really make this more successful."
She seems to hesitate for a moment. I worry what he would think.
What Sierra would think?
There's like a hesitation, and then she nods.
About your circumstances?
Mind controlling someone to kill them.
I think Tier might have his convictions, but I also know that if he knew why this had to be done, he would understand.
Skulna shrugs.
There are people in this world who don't honestly deserve to be alive.
Skulna nods.
They are cruel and dangerous, and they just cause suffering. And I think that this guy is one of those people.
Skulna nods again.
And I hate to admit it, but Tier's pretty wise.
Skulna nods again.
When I...
He always sees me.
Does he say anything?
No.
That's because he's a good guy. Listen, when I put this team together, I needed everyone's help. And I had to trust that they would understand who I am, who I was, what I've done, and accept that. And they all have. And I have some pretty weird stuff going on. And Tyr was the first person who ever volunteered to go out of his way to help me. Truly.
He's the one who sees when I have plans. I don't want him to think more or less of me.
The important thing here is just being honest. He can make his own assumptions of what he can tell from you, or you can tell him what it actually is, what the reality is, how you're feeling, what you're thinking. Then there's no room for misconception. Just like if I had withheld information about myself from you or Tier, he would have just seen the parts he could see and not what I was thinking.
When I signed up for this, I wanted to brutalize Carcerix, make him feel the pain that I felt, make him understand before ending him. That doesn't matter anymore. The pain, I'm just tired. I don't want to drag it out. I just want it to be over. I want him to be over, so that no one else will ever go through what I did. And if the quickest way to do that, is to magically trick him to follow us, then I'm on board. But
I might be able to do it without magic. I'm very seductive.
Skulna doesn't seem convinced.
Convinced, yeah. I'm just saying I've done it before. Obviously, I'm going to be doing my research. We're going to decide and figure out the best way to do it. But do you know who would have some brilliant insight on this? Tier.
Skulna seems very reluctant.
I didn't know you cared so much about Tier's opinion of you.
He sees me.
Wouldn't you rather him see the real you? If he's going to be seeing you at all?
She looks confused.
I guess I'm curious. You're hoping that they'll help us, right? Not just you and me trying to take this guy down. Or
She
were you
shrugs.
thinking that it was just going to be the two of us? Because, well, I'm flattered that you think I'm so capable. Or maybe you think that you're going to do a lot of the heavy lifting, which is probably the reality of the situation.
She shrugs.
Okay. But if we do bring them with us to help us with this, I think they're going to want to know some details.
How much?
Other than, we just need to kill this guy. I suppose that depends. How much you think they need to know? How much you want them to know? I'm sure you don't want them to know anything, preferably. The problem would just solve itself. Or you and I would just disappear and kill this guy and come back and be like, road trip.
I can't picture Anscombe just murdering someone.
No, but he would if he had a good reason to. If he knew how bad this guy was, it would be a very good reason.
I also don't want any of the crew to look at me with pity.
I don't really think that's how we interact with each other in this group. We all have a lot of shit going on. We've all done things that we regret or terrible things have happened to us. And I like to think we've come together because we're friends and we want to help each other. I want to help Norre. I hope the others want to help Norre too. I want to help you. I think they'd want to help you too.
Skulna nods after a moment. I'm not telling Lilith.
You don't know her. You don't trust her. That's
No.
fair. You don't have to. We'll figure something out with her. If it's her not coming, or convincing her that he just needs to die, she might be amenable to that. We'll figure it out. But we can start with someone. We don't have to do the whole party right now. I didn't tell you, all of you at once everything that was going on with me.
Who?
Who was the first person I told?
No. Who do we tell first?
She just kind of looks at her like meaningfully. I think Tara might be our best bet.
She blushes and just looks at the ground.
I promise he won't judge you. He's not in that business.
Roll me a persuasion check.
Okay. Oh, thank God. It was almost a natural one. 21.
There's a moment's pause, and then Skulna briskly nods.
Okay. Are you willing to do that now?
She nods.
Do you want me to get him?
She nods again.
Okay. I'll be right back. I should learn message, she says as she stands up.
She nods.
There's a big to-do list. Lorna will go to the door and slip out as, nonchalantly as possible.
Okay.
She will go find Tier.
Ironically, as the bath door opens, Tier steps out in a towel.
Hey,
Hey?
would you mind putting some pants on real quick?
The worst news a man can hear. Yeah, give me a moment. You need something? You have that look
She
on
kind
your
of-
face like you're going to ask me to do something.
She went from her normal kind of playful thing that she usually has with Tier, and she kind of grows a little more serious, and she says, Skulna and I would like to talk to you about something important,
Oh, shit.
if you don't mind. It's not about you, I promise.
Okay.
But would you mind approaching it with an open mind?
Yeah.
Great. I'll wait for you here.
He steps into the room next to the bathroom and then emerges a minute later wearing just traveling clothes, just a loose linen shirt and trousers, and he says, okay.
You will pat him on the back and lead him back to the room that Skulna was in.
I'm not about to get assassinated, am I?
Alright. Did you think he did something worthy of assassination?
It's impossible to know.
I guess we'll see.
Tyr steps into the room.
Mhm.
Hey, Skulna. Skulna just looks at him.
Lorna
Right.
will sit down next to Skulna.
As
It's
I
like a
expected.
silent pillar of support. Well, she'll look at Skulna and say, "Do you want me to tell him or do you?"
There's like a pause, and then Skulna says, "You first."
Okay. She'll look at Tier and she'll kind of outline the circumstances. Going to Malachor, there's this bad guy who did something pretty horrendous to Skulna, and Skulna wants him dead.
Okay. When?
She looks at Skulna. Well, she said before Nori's trip north with us. But I am
Oh.
curious, is there a timeline or is this a matter of you just want it to end?
Skulna is looking at the ground again, and she says, "I just want it over."
Okay. I imagine it could be over within a day. If all things went perfectly, we show up in Malachor, we find him, kill him, and we leave. But
Tyr like closes the door.
complications are always possible, and we were hoping to gain your insight on the best way to do this.
Okay. Well, manhunting is not my expertise, but I certainly have done it in the past. Do we know anything about this person's abilities? Or are they a warrior? Are they
Lorna outlines what she read about him and adds the details of what Skulna has said about him, his charisma, his enchantment.
A vampire.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's Malachor, what did you expect?
There's normal people there too.
Maybe.
Nope. For certain. They have to drink something.
That's true. So, see, that was kind of the angle I thought we could approach this at. I'm worried that if I attempt to charm him to come with us or go somewhere, that he will succeed against it and the jig will be up and we'll lose our advantage.
I'm pretty damn certain that's exactly what will happen. If he's a charisma
Exactly.
vampire, you don't stand a chance to actually charm him.
Right. So, I thought that we could exploit his particular taste and convince him to go to a quieter location.
Does he know you?
Not me,
Particularly
no.
well? No, not you. He's like
Oh,
looking at
yes.
Skulna. Does he
Yes.
know you well? And Skulna shrugs. Would he have an interest in you? Particularly you. Like, if he saw you, would he stop what he was normally doing? And Skulna, like, kind of tilts her head as she thinks about it. Maybe. It depends.
What does it depend on?
She looks down at herself. Maybe if I wasn't intimidating looking, I guess.
Visibly armed.
She nods.
I can imagine you can look unvisibly armed and still have plenty of knives on you.
She nods after a brief moment. And Tyr says, all right, well, we get you some common clothes, like, you know, a simple dress or something. We put you out on the street. Obviously not unprotected. But if we know where he's going to be, and we know when that'll happen, the rest is just, you know, finding the right log to set the trap on.
Do you think that it should be like she doesn't see him and she just walks by and you follow her?
No. Because
You
if
think you would
this...
realize?
I think someone like this is as narcissistic as they come.
Mm-hmm.
And they would want their victim to look them in the eye and know it was happening.
So she approaches him.
Perhaps if Skulna was walking down the street and happened to see him, and then reacted in a believable way of seeing this horrible vampire that,
So she pretends to, like, flee.
that would be it.
Okay.
Have Skulna run into the nearest alley as if she's in trouble.
He follows.
I think so. If he didn't even have nefarious intent, this woman who saw him just turned and ran, he might pursue just to find out what's happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, she'll look at Skulna and say, you and him had a very memorable interaction. He knows you. He knew your family. Right?
Skulna nods.
I feel like he would be very inspired to maybe tie up a loose end. Did you leave against his will, or did he let you go?
Skulna looks at Tier briefly and then back at you. She lets out a long breath. He let me go.
Did he ever think that he would see you again?
He made it clear he thought I would never recover.
I can't wait to prove him wrong.
I was frail.
I can't even imagine that.
Me neither. No one else. I realize it's not my business, but what happened here? I guess you don't have to tell me if you don't want to, but what did this guy do?
I want to look at Skulna. Do you want to tell him? Do you want me to?
Skulna looks at Tier for a long moment. And I think it's the first time you've ever seen Skulna make eye contact for longer than just a moment.
Mm-hmm.
She looks back down and then up at you, and then she just does a go-on gesture with her head.
For Lorna to say so.
Yeah.
Lorna will, in a hushed, low tone say, he was exploiting her siblings. And then when Skulna denied his own advances, he forced her via charm to kill her brothers.
Oh. Tier's quiet.
Can I insight check him?
Yeah. Roll an insight check. Tier's not very good at hiding this.
Well, I still rolled a natural one. I think Lorna is more preoccupied with Skulna than she is Tier at the moment because this is hard for her.
He rolled a 6, so
Really? Oh God.
he doesn't deceive. At least not really. He's angry.
Mm-hmm.
It's clear this is an injustice and a violation of somebody he cares about's, happiness. And he's trying to keep his temper under control.
Can Lorna see that Skulna understands his reaction? She can visibly see that he cares about her and wants to help, She was so afraid that he would be...
I mean, Skulna's insight is... It's not as good as yours, but it is certainly better than Tier's deception.
Okay, good. So Lorna feels reassured that Skulna understands that he cares about her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, you have my help. This person should not be allowed to walk Nth anymore.
That's what I said.
And frankly, shouldn't have been allowed to walk Nth for quite a while.
Right.
I'm sorry. I don't have a better plan.
We have a few weeks. We can think about it.
The problem is we can't see the land for itself. Can't see the streets, can't see the buildings. It's
We can
always...
find a map.
I mean, a map is nice, but Triss always told me the first thing you want to do when you're trying to set a trap
Scout
for
a
any
location.
creature is to scout it out. Aye.
Okay, well, we'll arrive, and not on the day that we arrive, we'll kill him. We'll plan that for the next day, and we'll go at a time that he normally isn't in that area, so we don't accidentally show our hand too early, and we'll scout the buildings.
It's a plan.
So a 2-day affair, at minimum.
Well, I'm assuming the whole crew's in on this?
She looks at Skulna.
Skulna, like, almost immediately is shaking her head.
You're the first person who knows.
Hey. It's alright. I mean, I know this is your business, but if I know anything about this team, is that we handle our problems together.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to tell anybody anything you don't want to, but it is a vampire, and they are powerful. And while I don't doubt your competence, or Lorna's, or my own, there's safety in numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And a vampire that is rich in the lines of charisma is renowned for being able to take over multiple people at once. So, I'm just... If the worst happened, it could be the end of us if we did not have enough people.
I think this is
Especially
a good scenario.
Nori. We need Nori for this.
The counter charm will be
Exactly.
literally instrumental.
It's at a minimum we need to bring Nori, alright? And Tierra is rolling a persuasion for Skulna right now.
I mean, did I help?
Yeah, you gave him
I made a bad pun.
It still was something. Skulna seems hesitant, but she eventually does nod. And I mean, we've all seen Ainscombe swing that sword around. Okay?
Mm-hmm. He's good at swinging his sword.
I hate that you said that. You're not allowed to say that.
Lorna winks at him.
Stop it. Disgusting.
You know that's not true.
Filthy. Spawn and noble, they say. Look. And he just, like... It's clear he's not serious, but he mockingly, like, shakes his head.
Of course.
If we could get Ainscombe along, I'm sure he would help without any of the story. He's as ride or die as they come.
It's true. He's a pretty moral, upstanding young lad, and I was like, hey, I need to kill this guy from my patron because he told me to, and he was all for it. Can you believe that?
Well, you are sleeping with him.
Great persuader.
Okay.
Lauren's got 2 in a row. She looks at both of them and she says, I was already going to be looking up magical means to prevent persuasion for this encounter with my dad coming up. So that would be useful in the situation too, if this vampire is going to try to get in our heads.
Skulna nods.
So that's going to be priority 1. I'll research it in Shona. I'll ask the wizard that I know there if he's amenable to it. I'll look into it in Augur City. I'm going to use my resources for this. It'd be great if I could cover multiple of us preventatively, but I don't know what the extent of magic's capability in this field is yet.
Research is really boring, but it will help, for sure.
I find it very soothing.
I'm sure you do.
She says like a dork.
I prefer practical hands-on knowledge. I don't think I've ever seen you research, Tier says as he's looking at Skulna. And
She did a little bit at the Arcanian.
Skulna, he, looks at Lorna and then nods just a little. And then she finally says, when I need to. Sort of thing that you don't do for fun, but when it's necessary. Makes sense to me. Okay.
I could look up also a means of making sure that our confrontation with him stays private. Illusion or
That'll be
silence or
wise.
something. Well, it couldn't be silence because then magic wouldn't be a thing. But if it's silent, he might not be able to charm us.
True. If it's silent, we can just rely on martial capabilities. And that might be the trick, honestly.
He might be neutered, and if Nora and I, the more magically inclined, stay back, we can still cast magic into the silence. The thing is getting it to stick to him, because if he leaves it, then
Well, okay. It brings me to the next point that I was going to say. I know Lilith is new. We don't.
Lorna looks, expectantly at Skulna because she knows how she feels.
Skulna's already shaking her head, and Tyr says, "Well, hold on. She's the best grappler we have. Look, all credit to Anscombe. Lilith is the one who can pin someone down and hold them there. And if there's anybody that I think could hold a vampire in place, it will be her." And Skulna's still just shaking her head.
Let's put a pin in Lilith right now.
Hold on. What? I mean, I know Lilith is new, but why do you hate her? Does she do something?
I am a little curious about that answer too. Is it because she stabbed me that one time?
Skulna is looking at you, and then just nods.
You may think that I'm a little dumb for being so ready to forgive her for that.
She does the gesture.
Yeah. Listen, I understand better than I think anyone why she did what she did. And maybe that's why I have a limitless empathy. If you look at it this way, she attacked me because she was forced to. Not unlike being enchanted to do so.
Skulna folds her arms.
Someone she cared about. Their life was being threatened, and the only solution was to kill me. And she didn't kill me, and she lost her sister.
Skulna is looking annoyed.
At me?
That is impossible to tell. She's not staring at you.
Mm-hmm.
She looks irritated that this is how the conversation has turned.
Skulna, it's hard for me to interpret you sometimes. Can you just tell me what you're feeling?
I don't trust her.
You don't trust her to have your back?
No.
That's not unreasonable. She and I have to trust each other just by circumstance, so that's kind of why I do. She has no reason to help you other than out of the goodwill of her heart, or because that's what the team is doing. So why would you trust her to have your back in a crucial moment?
I wouldn't.
I get where you're coming from. I suppose all I can say is just consider it and keep watching her actions until we decide and we go. She's a trustworthy person.
She shrugs. It's not for a while anyway.
Exactly. So just try to consider it. If nothing else, to keep us from dying.
I said I would.
Bar having a grappler, I could potentially tweak the silence spell to stick to him.
How would you do that?
I would have to research it. Magic spells that have been created already, it's just a sequence of formulas.
Okay.
I can
all right.
edit it.
I believe you.
I could add aspects. She starts like explaining. Like she pulls out her book and she's like pointing to like different formulas and she's like, if I tweak it like this and maybe add a little bit of a transmutive property to it, it might be able to adhere to him physically.
Okay. It's worth trying. Whatever. If that works.
Just think about it. He couldn't charm anyone if he was silenced. Unless he is some sort of like, if he looks at you. I don't know if that would be negated, but at least like verbally. And I believe a lot of enchantment requires verbal components because you're persuading or convincing.
It does depend
or
on the
lying.
nature. If it's the sort of thing he can do by just looking at you, I don't know if a silence would help.
We will research that.
Yeah.
I will look into it.
That's first step.
Lorna's already like writing down different questions that she's going to need to get the answer to.
Well, actually, first step is get to Skulna and kill a Hydra.
Right. We also just need to make sure the whole party's on board with. Do you want to do this before we get, like you said, Shona, Augur City, teleport to Malachor? Because we wouldn't get paid in that interim.
I can afford the teleport.
Okay, that's something. Making sure the rest of the party is okay with that detour. I'm sure if it's explained, they will be.
I'll pay if they help.
You'll pay them to help you?
She nods.
Wow.
It's not necessary, okay?
I don't...
You don't need to pay me.
I agree with Tierra.
I can't speak for... I mean, I cannot see a world where Anscombe would demand payment. Nora, maybe. But... would you feel better if Lilith was helping, if you paid her? As, you know, like a contract?
It makes sense.
Skulna. For the first time, when Lilith was mentioned in this conversation, she didn't immediately seem, frankly, petulant about it. She looks thoughtful and then shrugs. That's as good as I can get, I think. That's as much progress as anything.
Money's a great motivator.
If Lilith is looking at this professionally, you know, we're all mercenaries here.
Mm-hmm.
She'd have you back then. That's for sure.
I have an idea. Stop me if this is stupid. I know you will. She looks at Tyr.
Maybe.
We did that mission for Modi, and he was a member of the Marigard. He contracted the company he works for to do a job.
Yeah, it's true.
We could do the same thing with this guy.
Do you know how much that costs?
No, I have no idea. Please help.
You've never talked to Persh about this?
I've never thought about hiring myself.
No, okay. To the bare line cost to hire the Marigard Mercenary Guild, not the Academy, the Guild, for them to actually send contractors out to deal with something, the baseline cost is 5,000 gold pieces.
Lorna scratches her head. Okay, I don't know. I mean, I would be surprised, Skulna, if you had that. Or maybe I wouldn't be. I don't know. So
Skulna
maybe...
shakes her head.
Okay, so maybe not.
And then the Marigard then weighs the task that you need done and add on fees based on strength number of enemies, whether it's a known location. It
Wow. Okay, I
adds
get
up
it. I get
quickly.
it. I get it.
You should have
It
talked to
was
Persia
just.
just so you have the image in your mind of how much
I
we
know now, don't
cost.
I? We cost a lot.
We are the most expensive. You could hire a
But
team
we
from Red
do a good
Ledger.
job.
It's true. But you could hire a team from the Red Ledger for 500 gold pieces.
All right, so this is an unofficial contract.
It's only if Skulna wants to look at it that way. I don't want to put that
Right.
in my head.
Right.
Look, one way or another, Skulna, I care about you. You've looked out for all of us countless times.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many times I've heard you gank something in the middle of the night and literally save us from most assuredly either peril or theft? It's happened dozens of times.
Lorna like starts looking a little uncomfortable. Like, has it really happened that many times?
Yeah.
Oh my god. Oh.
We have not been traveling the safest roads.
She just looks at Skulna. Thanks.
She nods.
Okay, right, yeah.
Look, I appreciate you, and you need help, and I'm happy to provide it. But more than that, I care about you. I know there's a good heart in there somewhere. It's looking out for all of us, that's for sure. You see Tierra suddenly, like, makes a realization.
Did I miss something?
No. I think I just had
Inside
a
check.
thought. Okay. Go
I
ahead
also want to
and roll
insight
an
check how Skulna is feeling with Tear's words. Please roll good. 19?
Okay, you're inciting Tierra first?
I think I'm inciting Skulna first.
Okay. As Tierra has been talking, you've definitely noticed Skulna's shoulders are a little straighter. She's receiving praise. She seems pleased about it.
Mm.
Her face isn't changing, but her body language is representing the fact that she's liking what she's hearing.
Okay. Can I insight check Tier now?
Yeah, go ahead.
Woohoo! All the insights. Yes, really good. 24.
You think Tierra has just made a connection? Like he's just realized something? You're probably going to have to talk to him about it to figure out what it is.
She starts like doing that go on gesture. Yeah, okay. What did you realize?
It's not the time.
She squints at him.
Trust me. Do you trust me?
Sometimes I wonder.
No. That's not fair.
Yes. Ugh.
I'll talk to you about it later, when I've
Fine.
had some time to think about it. Because I'm not really sure. But
Fine.
I appreciate the two of you coming to me. I realize I'm sometimes a bit of the, well, the comic relief, I suppose.
Your words, not mine.
Your thoughts, for sure. Anyway, one way or another, right now, here in the hermit's house, whatever, in this grove, we have some time to ourselves, a moment to reflect and relax, and we should all absolutely milk that for every minute we've got it. Because,
you mean think about myself?
yeah,
Ugh,
go take a bath.
it's a dark place in there.
There's candles.
Not the bath. Inside me.
There's candles.
Candle.
You play with Anscombe's candle enough.
Only I could do that. It's weird when you do it.
Oh, is it? Maybe be more careful on the edge of the fucking campsite next time.
Lorna just wide eyes, but doesn't like address that. She just, oh, okay, so he did notice. Lorna
Mm-hmm.
will look back at Skulna and say, "We have time. We'll plan this out. We'll consider talking to the others."
Skulna nods.
Okay, it doesn't have to be done today. We do have a dinner tomorrow in our honor. Oh,
Skulna seems to wince a little bit, and then she nods.
yeah.
Do we need
Yeah.
to dress up for that, by the way?
I don't know. Maybe we should ask
I mean,
someone.
Oh, it is fairly impromptu for us, but I mean, I've got some fine clothes.
There, that healer who stopped by, Grace. She said she owned some sort of store. I don't know if it's just poultices, but I
She
figured
said an apothecary.
All right, but there might be other places. Maybe we should just take a walk.
This is, as far as I can tell, a village. So yeah, likely there are other places that need things sold. If that's how economies work.
Probably. I don't know. I'm no expert.
Also, this place doesn't look like it does any fucking trading with anybody. So
Self-sustaining economy. Maybe they don't even use money.
no, they use money. Everyone
Okay.
uses money.
Well,
What if they had an emergency and they needed to go get supplies from Shona or Alga City?
yeah, that would be unfortunate if they didn't have any money.
Siren's Respite's not that far, especially if you're a druid who knows all the bullshit in this forest.
There's a lot of it.
Fucking nine hells there is. Alright. I'm gonna go get
Self-reflect.
No. What have I got to reflect about?
You said we should all take this opportunity.
Do as I say, not as I do. Tier stands. He does turn to Skulna. I appreciate you telling me. I get it. And Skulna just nods as Tier turns and leaves. As Tier closes the door behind him, Skulna seems to visibly relax a little bit.
How are you feeling?
Okay.
Yeah.
It feels good to have a plan. A real one.
It's coming together.
I think we can make this work.
Skulna looks like she has something she wants to say, and she's trying to decide how to say it.
Lorna is patient, but like she has kind of like a I'm just waiting for you to say it on your terms kind of expression.
Eventually, Skulna asks, "What do you think the group thinks of me?"
Well, I think they're all constantly impressed. I will admit, I think you're pretty cool. Maybe.
Her brow furrows. She doesn't really know what to do with that.
I admire your level-headedness, your ability to assess a situation and then handle it, and your dexterity. Gods, I wish I was a fraction of as dexterous as you are. I see the way you handle situations, and I wish that I handled them that way. I'm pretty sure that's probably a shared feeling.
You could train.
And I have been with Nori a little bit as far as the dexterity goes, but there's a certain aura that you exude that is not, you just can't learn it. You just either have it or you don't, and I'm kind of a bumblefuck.
Skulna shakes her head.
Well, I feel like one. I think I talk too much sometimes.
Skulna nods.
Okay, and I knew that. And maybe it's because I have this predecessor who had like a really powerful charisma about her that I just don't come anywhere near. But I see a similar thing in you. And I think a lot of people do when they can see you, of course. I think this team would be nothing without you. There's so much going on that we don't even know that keeps us successful because of you.
Skulna doesn't really say anything. She's really short, you knew that. She kind of just kicks her feet close to the floor as she's sitting on the edge of this bed. Tierra's the one who sees. What do you think he thinks?
What he thinks in particular about you?
She nods.
I'm sure if I doubt you'd do this, but I'm sure if you asked, he'd tell you. But I mean, he kind of told you, didn't he?
He was being nice.
No, he wasn't. He was being honest. He just happened to think nice things about you.
He doesn't know anything about me.
He sees you
She nods.
more than most people. I think he can put some things together about you. He said he knew you had a good heart. I think that's true.
So do you.
You think I have a good heart?
I know you do. She gestures to the room around them.
Yeah.
We're here.
Well,
A shitty person wouldn't do this.
I'm really trying.
She literally
do
gives
too.
you a duh face.
And you do too. Yours is just more subtle. You keep us safe.
If I didn't, it would be my fault. Because I could.
But you want to. I think. I hope.
She nods.
A shitty person would have found a team with less baggage, I think.
She nods again.
Okay. That other rogue you were assigned. No, that was... What was his name? He stole something from me once.
Matthew.
Uh-huh. I doubt he would put up with half of the shit
She shakes
that
her
this
head.
party brings. Right?
He would joke about laundry and disappear.
Oh. I guess I made the right choice in my rogues then.
She gives a little soft smirk and a shrug.
Is there a particular reason you're concerned with Tier's opinion of you, specifically? Do you care more about his opinion than most people's?
She thinks for a moment, clearly thinking about how to respond. She seems to make a decision, and then she just glances over at you, and then back to the ground, and she says, I like him.
Insight check.
Go ahead.
Like him. Oh, check yes or yes. 17.
She So you like watched the machinations on her face, and it's clear that she was like, "I trust Lorna," and then told you something that she probably wouldn't have told anybody else.
So I think Lorna does look a little surprised.
I did not see that coming. I will admit that.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm not judging you. I can see the appeal. Is that something you want to act on?
No.
Ever?
Not until I can be happy again.
Well, we're working on that, aren't we? And he's helping. Because he wants to. Because he cares about you.
She nods.
Thank you for telling me.
She nods again. She then squints a little bit. If anybody else finds out.
She puts her hands up. Absolutely not. Not a single word will leave my lips about this.
She like, you don't know when a dagger had appeared in her hand, but she puts it away.
You're good. I didn't even roll a persuasion roll. Like, she believes me. Hooray! She'll kind of bump her shoulder against Skulna's. Maybe enough of the serious for today.
She nods. I'm getting wine.
Good idea. I'm taking a bath.
Good idea. Skulna
Lorna will
stands
see
up. Go ahead.
Okay. She's gonna see if there's anything else lingering there. But if she's standing up, then Lorna's like, okay, I've been dismissed.
Yeah, Skulna like stands up and goes to leave the room. Well, Lorna, you handled that conversation.
When Skulna leaves the room, and the door shuts, Lorna just like lays face down on the bed and just like processes. Internally, she's like, Skulna likes deer! The reaction she wanted to give, but was trying to be cool about it. How did I miss that? Of course I missed that. I can't fucking... even when I do see Skulna, half the time, I have no fucking clue what she's thinking. Holy shit. Holy shit. And she's just kind of like laying there going through like every interaction she's ever seen between them. If there is any.
You do suddenly hear, this is more interesting than the dramas I've seen in Silver's Reach.
Can you believe this?
Yes.
What? Did you see something I didn't?
No.
And how come you're not surprised like I am?
I am a little surprised, but it is clear that girl has some very deep-rooted problems. Yet she's aware of them.
Mm-hmm.
She's not willing to act on any feelings, at least not yet, which is commendable. And I wish I'd shown half of that restraint.
In what situation do you wish you restrained your feelings?
Lorna.
I meant like a positive feelings, I suppose.
Had I been more discreet about my affections for Malcolm, our escape might not have been so stressful.
From the Underdark, I see.
But I couldn't wait. It is an unfortunate reality that I see you struggle with frequently.
That...
When you're excited about something, you cannot wait for it to happen.
Right. We could all learn a thing or two from Skulna. What I'm concerned about is Tier's not really a one-person kind of guy. And she knows that. She has to.
I would suspect she knows that, yes.
Does that bother her?
I suspect if it does, anybody else should fear for their life.
He was with Norre. How did
But
she feel about that?
I don't know.
Ah!
I can't read
I'm
the
ju-
girl.
And I can't, I just, and I feel like if I bring it up, she's going to be like, I wish I hadn't told you. And I don't want that. I don't want her to, like, regret telling me things.
Wait for her to tell you then.
Okay, so about 10 years from now, she
Perhaps
might tell me more.
the next time she has a conversation with you that is rather intimate, or about Tia, you could ask her how she felt.
I guess I could. But I want to know now.
That is our
Lorna, like,
problem.
kicks her feet like she's having a tantrum on the bed. Oh, do you think he realized that too? That moment where he was like, he put something together.
I don't know.
Oh, I want to ask him now. But if I came out of this conversation with Skulna, where she was like, don't tell anyone, and then I went straight to Tierra and I was just like, so? That would look so shitty. I'm trying to be a good person and also a good friend, but I just don't want to be. I want to know.
You're going to have to learn that restraint. And I think, while Skulna might be a good example, it's very difficult to learn that from someone else.
Lorna lets out like a muffled scream into her pillow. Okay. Restraint and dignity. Restraint and dignity.
I will say this is much nicer than when I was here. They never gave me... Yes, they never gave me a place to rest. Granted, I didn't give them the opportunity to show me any hospitality.
What about when you got married here?
Oh.
Lily?
I crafted a tower.
Uh-huh. How quickly?
There is much magic you have yet to learn.
I'm imagining instantaneously then.
10 minutes.
Where? Like in the middle of the road?
No. Do you remember the name of the portal? Do you remember where that is?
Was she? It's a shrine, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. You...
There? You did it there?
No. I did it overlooking there. Which, if this...
Good view.
Yes, indeed. Should be... If you wanted to go investigate it, it was a few miles north. Overlooking on a cliff. Looking out over the verdant grove.
Was that near where the wedding happened? I remember seeing like a stone arch or something.
Yes. That stone arch contained a portal to the Beastlands.
Oh. I bet it's still there.
Perhaps.
Maybe I should go for a walk. Or a fly.
Go for a bit of a fly. As you consider that... Hold on a minute. Okay, let me pull up the notes here. Hold on.
Love notes.
Yes, notes.
Love notes.
Lots of them being pulled up this session. For both of us, it seems.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. One moment here. The Galdring.
Mm-hmm.
That was the name of the portal.
Yes, now I remember.
Yeah, well, I remember. That's really all that I care about. Um, Lily says, "It might be the time of year, but from what I saw outside, this does not look like the same environs the Galdring was in. But it might be worth a quick search, or you could just ask someone, if that still exists."
Maybe I'll just. Do you think it'd be weird if I just stopped somebody walking around and be like, "Where's the Galdring?"
Might be a little odd, but
Nah, let's do it. She gets up.
okay.
I want to see it with my own eyeballs.
She'll jump downstairs. Is there anybody in like the main room?
Out in the main, like, proper area, you see Lilith.
Hey,
Uh,
going for a walk.
You want company?
Sorry, let me rephrase. I'm going for a fly.
Well, I can't do that. Have fun.
Lorna's just like inwardly like, oh, she wanted to go for a walk with me. She's like, progress. But she goes outside anyways.
Okay, Lorna, you step outside, out into the village of the Verdant Circle. It is bustling, much more than it ever was before. It feels almost as though, like, a war is over, and people are celebrating just in small ways. You see lots and lots of flowers being strewn about all over the buildings, the thatch roofs of various houses being dappled with all sorts of brilliant rainbow colors of flowers and roses, and it's very pretty and smells, well, if you try to smell it, it smells amazing. Otherwise, the staff's constant breeze of, like, almost sea or mountain air keeps you from smelling anything else. But that is that as you step out into the road. Where do you go? What are you doing?
She is going to look for an older person. Safer bet they might know what she's talking about than like a child.
Okay. Maybe 2 houses down on the opposite side of the hermit's house, you see there is what looks like an elderly half-elf. She has, like, gray speckled hair that looks like it once was black. It's pulled up in a bun as she is gardening. She's working on the yard in front of her house. But as you're outside, she looks up and just kind of gives you a smile and a wave.
Hello.
Hello.
Could I ask you a question, please?
She straightens up and looks at you and has, like, a small smile on her face, and she says, "For the new hero of the Grove, of course. What do you need?"
I was just wondering if the Galdring was still present in the grove.
She's to roll for it. Great.
I'm sorry. I'm not sure what that is.
Oh, I see. Could you direct me to someone who's been here a while?
Older than myself, you mean?
Yes.
Well, Reaver's been here quite a while.
I talk to him anyway.
Nolu, of course.
That might be a better bet. Is she somewhere I could find her?
Oh, she's usually at the, we call it the Pendant, but it's kind of City Hall for us. It's a grand moss tent just up the road. You'll see it around the corner to the right.
Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Or we'll wait. Bye.
Pleasant day. And she just goes back to gardening.
I was like, maybe that's a hidden secret in this. I don't know.
I don't know the truth. She's like just going back and forth on what the hell happened to the Galdring while she walks to where Nolu is.
Okay. The pendant is exactly as she described. It's an enormous tent that seems to be made of moss. But the moss itself looks alive and fresh, and it's lined with all sorts of vines that are just hanging these beautiful white and pink flowers from all over it. It is right next to that enormous tree that you saw was coming back to life.
Yay.
As you look into the pendant, it doesn't have a door. It's just a big, enormous, like open, like if you think like a flea market tent almost, except it's made of moss. And you see inside it, there's all sorts of these torches that magically illuminate the inside interior with blue flame. There's a lot of people within the pendant, but no one's in a hurry. And you see that there is an enormous table being set up, likely in preparation for a feast.
It's gonna be here. Okay. Just you see Nola?
Yes, you do see Nolu on the far side of the tent. Up on a stage, you see there is like a huge slice out of a grand tree that's set atop risers. And Nolu is standing next to it and has lots of parchment spread out across it. She's clearly working on plans or something.
Mm-hmm. Lorna will approach visibly. She's not trying to sneak up on her.
She's aware of you before you even get close.
Mm.
As you're approaching, you hear Nolu say, Miss Holloweth.
Just Lorna is fine.
Very well. Lorna?
Is there anyone like around?
A few.
Or is she more
There's
like...
a few people. No one is any like close enough that they seem to be eavesdropping, but people are busy in this massive room.
She'll, have like a softer tone and be like, I was hoping I could visit the cauldron. Is it still around?
How'd you know about that?
It's where they got married. I saw it in my dreams.
Nolu turns, setting her hand on the table, and looks at you. One of few pleasant memories. That was one of the happiest days of my life.
I remember seeing you for the first time there, too. You looked very happy.
I was. So was my boy. So was your predecessor. So was everyone. We used to have a pact with the Ferrikeen in the Beastlands. We would trade with them, visit. They would share magical secrets with us, and we would share magical secrets of Anth with them. Crossings into the Beastlands happened every day. Things grew sour. That was my own mistake. I grew mistrustful. It was clear the secrets that we were giving them were more potent than the secrets they were giving us. And I felt as though they were trying to take advantage. There were whispers of another clan, and I grew worried for the fate of the Verdant Grove. So I withdrew. They didn't take kindly to that. The Galdring exists, but it is no longer a safe crossing. It is, well, we keep it as a sacred shrine to Lilas, but we don't attend it. It is my own personal responsibility.
I see. I understand if you don't want me there.
You can visit, but you cannot enter the portal.
I would not. I did not intend for that. I just wanted to see it.
The place that I saw in my dreams.
Oh. Yes. It is 4 miles east. If you find
Okay.
the clearing of meadow within the dense copse of pine, you're on the right track, and it's right near there. It has a way of hiding itself, as all shrines do. If you are of the kind of mind that Lilas appreciates, it reveals itself to you readily, but if not, you have to do a little searching.
Um, I wouldn't know if I was or wasn't. This might be an imposition, but you might be busy. But I was also hoping to ask you a little bit more about Malcolm too. Would you mind coming with me?
I cannot come with you. I have too much to do. I have a feast to prepare for, a celebration.
understand.
I have speeches to write. But I can spare you a few minutes to speak about Malcolm.
Okay.
It's rare that anybody else knows about him. People know of him, but they don't know him. And while I know you do not know him, you are perhaps the closest thing to another person who's spoken to him that I'll ever find.
Lorna kind of has like a light bulb moment or whatever the ant equivalent is to a light bulb, and she'll reach into her bag and she will dig out the portrait she painted of him before she had that whole episode where she passed out for like 8+ hours.
Mhm.
It's the one with the flowers in his hair from the wedding. And she will hand it over to him. Sorry, she will hand it over to Noblu. Say, this is how I remember him on that day.
Oh. She looks emotional. She takes the painting from you. You got him just right. Truly, you did see it. And she
I did.
goes to hand the painting back to you.
No, please keep it.
You mean that?
Yes.
She just looks at the painting for a long time. She doesn't do anything else.
I think I can ask you questions later.
No, sorry. And she wipes her face and she sets the painting down on the table. It clears her throat. Sorry. Ask away.
Well, I don't remember everything. It kind of comes and bursts, especially when certain stimulus happens. I was just wondering, I guess in general, more about him, and also about the relationship you understood between him and Adora.
Well, I know Adora died to save him.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the reasons why I grew to trust her. They told me the most ridiculous tale. She looked just like you do now. But she spoke with so much weight. As if she'd had hundreds of years. I realize now that was probably true, but
Lorna just nods.
she loved my son. She saw him as a beacon. I could see it on her face anytime she looked at him. Everything that was wrong with the world, it all went away when she looked at Malcolm. And I couldn't really blame him. Couldn't really blame her. Malcolm was the best of us. He left. We used to have a circle arranged north of the impasse in what is now known as the Scar. It once was a very rich and lush bog, and we used to tend to and raise many creatures there. We would flourish in the swamps. And we used to we hadn't heard from Lilas in millennia. My old mentor used to tell me of the songs Lilas taught her herself and the songs that Luminos sang with her in tandem, and they were gone. And my old mentor, when the War of the Dead began, saw it as true evil, took our strongest warriors and left to go squelch the fires of the followers of the Star, along with my husband. So, I was stuck to raising my own Malcolm myself, and he was everything to me. He took after his father in so many ways. He was powerful. He was wiser than most and quicker than the rest. And kind. Genuinely kind. Not just for appearance's sake, but if people needed his help or people were actually hurt, there would be no storm that could stop him. It was that benevolence that got him captured. A drow raiding party came upon our swamp tenders that were raising gators. They had managed to knock unconscious, I think, or sleep 15 different tenders. It was a raiding party of, I think, 12. Malcolm came at them as much as any bear could. We know that he defeated 7. But they got him. The only reason we know anything was, of the 7 that he had defeated, he never struck lethal blows. But 5 of them drowned in the bog.
Oh.
2 of them did not, and we managed to get the answers out of them. When we learned that Malcolm was taken and brought to Lucifax, we understood from our own interactions with other raiders and the few times my predecessor had managed to trade with the drow, always for slaves, always to free people, that Lucifax was a brutal place, and I had needed to accept that Malcolm was dead. I couldn't. This was my first mistake as a new leader. I was young, I was brash, and I was angry. And I brought the burgeoning young warriors in training to assault and raid every drow tunnel we could find. I lost many in my anger. It took the village priestess to set me aside and show me what I was doing in my grief that was causing the grove to split apart. Imagine my surprise when 3 years later, Malcolm appears with a dead drow.
Oh, he brought her.
Yes. Telling me he needed to perform a rite and needed the incense and spices for it.
The first thing he said after 3 years.
After 3 years, he showed up. The balls on that man, telling me that we needed to give our precious resources for this drow woman. I was so angry. But I was so relieved to see him, I wasn't going to turn anything down. So he did. And out popped from that ritual a woman who looked just like you. He told me that you... Sorry. You look just like her. It's quite upsetting. He told me...
Sorry.
It's not actually upsetting. It just... I'm in the memory of it. He told me that he and her had many wrongs to right. And that your predecessor knew the answer. Knew why the followers of the star were so strong. He said our best bet was to leave. To get out of Ceres, to go across the Crystal Ocean and find safer places to settle down. And as soon as we had a grove once more arranged, he and her would come. Once their duty was settled. Once he had destroyed the weapon of the followers of the star. So, it did not happen right away, obviously. But it was dangerous. It was much too dangerous with the undead. We left. We settled here, in the Rimwood. It was rich with Fey influence, which was a different flavor than that. You are studied in the plains, yes?
Yes.
Elysium is what we were used to, which is much more surreal, influential, and the entities that would appear were almost ghostly in nature. Never malevolent, but frightening.
Mm-hmm.
The Fae are devious.
Mm-hmm.
They enjoy their tricks. Even though they won't lie to you, they will do everything else in their favor to trick you, twisting the meanings of words to their benefit. And it took us years to get used to that. Such is the result, the defenses that bested your party.
We sure did.
Well, it's good to know they still do their job. We have not had any hostile interaction for years before you. Anyway, we waited patiently for word from Malcolm and Adora. I knew they were fighting. Every day I was worried. Every day I would send animal messengers to Ko and see what he was doing, what they were doing. It was mostly out of hope. I knew they were awfully far, and many animal messengers were just claimed by the Scourge every chance they had an opportunity. And then, 4 years after our departure, they show up again. Malcolm and your predecessor, just happy as can be. Say they're on a vacation, a stay from all the dead. They said the smell was too bothersome. And then they revealed the truth. That they wished to marry. Who am I to say no? I could have absolutely said no, I was the mother. But to be honest, I appreciated your predecessor and the calming, resolute effect that she had on Malcolm. When she set her mind to something, I could tell that thing was going to be done, or the world would break trying to stop her.
Lorna just nods sagely. Yes.
That wedding was the last time I saw Malcolm happy. Well, that's not true. They did stay here for a few months afterward, enjoying their vacation from the rot, as they said.
Adora said she built a tower.
She did. They stayed there most of the time when they weren't.
No news for her.
Well, they did spend enough time here eating all the cucumbers that we grew. She seemed quite fond of them.
She's also really pleased with the luminescent mushrooms in the cottage, the guest house.
I mean, everyone has their secrets. We've had some drow visitors in the past. We know what they like. I assume she commented on that when you saw them.
Mm-hmm.
We did not have any such options when she first arrived, unfortunately.
But cucumbers.
Plenty of those. She never seemed to mind. She always loved them in a balsamic. Anyway, that's a weird detail. They received a message after staying here for 4 months. Something dire, something about a new threat that they needed to deal with. They needed to help their friends with. And I was sad to see them go. I did not know that was the last time I would see them. See him. Was there other questions?
You pretty much answered them just by talking.
I'm glad.
Thank you for telling me more about him.
Thank you for this marvelous portrait. I'm going to immediately frame this. You really captured him.
I drew it way immediately after I had the memory.
It's the smiling eyes. No matter what was happening, he would always look at you and part of you would feel better. Because he's not worried, so why should you be?
I remember his words too at the wedding.
A vivid dream, then.
Every detail. With you, I fly.
Yes.
And
Great.
I may have taken that a little literally. And she will pop out her ethereal wings that are in the form of nightingale wings.
Oh. Nightingale.
Mm-hmm.
I'm honored.
I'm lucky to have the memory of him.
I wish one day my own memories could be so vibrant. When I think of your soul bound with your predecessor, I can't help but feel as though it's a curse, because I know the truth of that tormented soul that's tied to you. But it is memories like that that I wish I could relive.
Maybe I'll be able to find a way to share them. Pretty good at magic.
One cannot live in the past and push forward into
But
the future.
sometimes you can take a little detour.
It's nice to have a glimpse, yes. Thank you, Lorna.
Mm-hmm.
I really am touched.
I'll stop disturbing your work now.
This was anything but a disturbance.
Hmm.
You see that she just like sits down and goes back to looking at the painting.
Oh,
And
she's
her
not
eyes,
forgetting me.
her eyes are watering.
Oh.
And as you make Nolu Nightingale cry,
Yeah, that's what I do. I make people cry.
that is where we are going to call tonight's session.
She's kind of like my grandma.
She's your mother-in-law. Extended version? Like, it's your grandmother-in-law? I guess.
Well, if Adora called me her daughter, then she's got to be my grandma.
I guess so.
Mm-hmm.
Except not, because it's weird. Anyway,
Blood related. It's weird. It's a little.
thank you for playing with me tonight. I hope you had a good time. This session was all just talking. Goodness gracious.
Just talking to people.
But as we come to the end of the session, I hope those of you who are at work or at home watching, hi Pen, hi Emily, hi
Pen.
class,
Hi, Emily.
hi everybody else, we love you all, and I wish you a good night.